It's back. I'm back as well. It's been a while, guys. Anyway, hey there, guys. What's up? It's all about Mike 18 here, back with another TV episode review. Man, oh man, was the last one I did. No, I reviewed Show Me a Hero a couple weeks ago, but yeah, the last actual series of TV episode reviews I've done was for The Walking Dead when it ended the latter half of season 5, and I haven't reviewed a TV show since, so this is pretty interesting. So yeah, guys, as you can tell by the title of this video, and as you can tell by the poster hanging up above me, and this shirt that I'm wearing that actually says "Don't Get Bit," I am going to be reviewing the season 6 premiere of The Walking Dead. That's right, guys, The Walking Dead is back. Would you believe that 6 seasons we are into The Walking Dead? I was thinking about that today, I think, this morning. I was like, man, we've had this show for 6 seasons already. Boy, does time fly. And I don't know, maybe it's felt like we had it for shorter for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, it's crazy to think about that. We've had this show for 6 years, essentially. Yeah, it's 2015, started 2010, so that's nuts. But anyway, guys, real quick before I get into the review, try to keep it brief. My reviews for TV always run long though, but I'll do my best. Real quick, guys, videos. I know I've been extremely busy. Okay, I am so lucky. I was free all day Sunday today, and then I was free tonight to watch the premiere and then review it for you guys. But I'm gonna do my best. I know I've been active. I got a random vlog I'm gonna upload. I got 2 movie reviews I want to do. One for The Martian, one for this movie I saw at the New York Film Festival. So stay tuned for that. My October Blu-ray update is now 11 days late because it's October 11th. I'm sorry about that. I will get that up as soon as I can. I haven't even shot it yet. I've just been so super busy. But right after this week is when things will start to slow down a bit for at least a week. So stay tuned for that, guys. Hopefully I'll get stuff going and get stuff out to you guys. Anyway, just had to mention that. Let's get back. You like my new poster, guys? Johnny Depp. He stares at me every night before I go to sleep. It's been a while since I've shot in this surrounding, but nevertheless, I am here to bring you my review for the season premiere of The Walking Dead. This was season 6, episode 1, titled Start Again. I gotta read mine. First Time Again. There we go. First Time Again. Almost forgot. I did forget it. I'm sorry. And I'm not gonna cut this, so I can't cut away. I'm sorry. So yes, The Walking Dead is back, and as you guys know, I am a fan of the show. I've reviewed basically every season. I think I started doing the review season 4, and I've been doing them ever since. I would call myself a fan of the show. I have felt that there were seasons that were weak, and there were others that were a lot stronger. I personally, overall, as a whole, was pleased with the way, with the direction they took season 5. I like how it was balanced between essentially 3 different locations for the most part, or 3 different plot points. I thought that worked pretty well for the most part. I loved the finale. I loved the start. I think it had maybe a few, like 2 or 3 episodes weak somewhere in the middle, but I think it really picked up like in the latter half, and it really worked for me overall. And especially with the way they ended the finale, with bringing back one of arguably the biggest fan favorite characters of the entire show, I immediately got pumped right when the season 5 finale ended and we were going to get ready for season 6, because I was like, okay, this is amazing. We have this character back. He's going to be a regular on the show. We got all of our main cast back. Everyone who's made it out of season 5 alive. This is going to be epic. I can't wait for season 6. And then I, of course, kind of put Walking Dead on like the back of my head because like I didn't need to think about it because it hasn't been on for a while. And then Fear the Walking Dead. I have not seen the finale yet for that, so don't spoil it for me in the comments. Not a great filler in my opinion. I just don't care for it really. It's not that great. So, naturally, I was getting excited for Walking Dead to come back, and now we have the Season 6 premiere. Let me run through a brief plot synopsis. I'll run through it. I'm going to be straightforward with you guys here, though. This is an interesting premiere. not admire, I would say I appreciate the different direction they decided to take this episode by having a lot of different time jumping plot points. We really are focusing on two plot points here: the current day, or the present day setting of the group trying to basically, or the group at Alexandria trying to basically move this giant horde, mass of walkers, literally like hundreds of walkers just in this one like canyon area, get them out of there so they don't come eventually and arrive at Alexandria and swarm Alexandria, and sort of move them in like this straight path away from their group. So that's their essential goal for the entire current present day plot point of the episode. And then the rest of the episode, which was not shot in black and white, I can tell, because all that footage that was in the trailers, that was in that part of tonight's episode, was in color. So they obviously shot it in color and just put it transferred it to black and white in post, because I don't think they intended on doing that at first. Having the past plot points be shown in black and white. I don't think that was the original intention. I actually watched like 2 minutes of Talking Dead before I came in here to do my review of the new episode, and I think they even admitted it. They were like, "Oh, I think Greg Nicotero, who directed tonight's episode, and Scott Gimple were like, I think we were thinking of doing different saturation levels at first for the past and present storylines. Like, I think the past would be more saturated or less, I can't remember which, and then they eventually just decided to do black and white so it would be able to make sense of things more visually. So that is basically how the episode's broken down, and that plot point, the past plot point, is basically not flashbacks. I'm not going to call them flashbacks. I'm just going to call a different linear storyline in the timeline of the show, and it takes place right after Rick kills Pete, when Morgan arrives at the at Alexandria with Daryl and Aaron, and it's basically just showing the group coming to terms with discovering that they have to move this horde of walkers, okay, and basically fall in line under Rick's leadership now that Deanna is sort of off, not sort of stepped down, but I think this whole experience with Reg's death and just Pete being a person they shouldn't have trusted or allowed to live in Alexandria, and obviously she regrets it now because she lost her husband, but it's more or less like her eyes have been opened now. Okay, what Rick has been saying is true. Her and her people need to wake up. The world outside is bad. Walkers got into their camp, or into their group. They got past the walls. They got through the walls in the finale. Okay, Deanna really has to wake up and smell the coffee. I need my group to really get used to all this, get used to these surroundings. We need to listen to what Rick has to say. They have experience. Rick has experience. They know what they're doing. We should listen to him. And of course, there's going to be opposition. There's this one guy. His name is Carter in the episode. He's an Alexandria resident, and he's going to oppose to what Rick is going for. But essentially, guys, that's the structure of the episode. And amidst the entire episode, which was the entire length is an hour and a half with commercials. So without commercials, I would say the whole episode is probably about 60 some odd minutes. And in all honesty, I'm looking back, I really don't know why they needed to make the season premiere an hour and a half long and not just the standard hour-long episode, 42 minutes essentially, with 18 minutes commercials, like every other episode is. Because looking back, this is an episode where I don't want to say nothing really happens, and that's kind of a bummer for a season premiere, especially a 6th season premiere of this show, which is one of the most popular shows on television. It's not an episode where not a lot truly happens. It's an episode that I think, especially in terms of how it was structured, the formatting, and how it was cut together, I think not only was very jarring, but very unnecessary. And I'm not bashing this episode, and I get that, like, I am not a fan of every single episode of this show. I think that a lot of people will feel the same way, that there's 16 episodes is too many for a season, and I'm going to agree with that. I also think it doesn't help when you have the season premiere or the season finale an hour and a half long. Yeah, I don't feel that we honestly need that. Like season one did it right. That premiere was an hour and a half long, I think, and I think it served its purpose. Like the beats worked in the story. Tonight's episode, I honestly could have seen myself cutting out a couple of scenes that we maybe didn't even need to be there right away. And I really just am not. I'm trying to get over the fact of how they structured tonight's episode with the nonlinear storytelling, and I'm fine with that. Okay, I have seen it done in many films before. There's a movie hanging up on my wall right now, right there, Pulp Fiction, one of the classic examples of a movie that is told from a nonlinear timeline. Okay, like the events happen out of order. And I think Quentin Tarantino did a phenomenal job telling the story that way. It not only made it entertaining and it kept you guessing in a way like, oh wait, you know how to like connect the pieces. But after a while, when we cut from like they start off with a black and white of Rick killing Pete, and then we cut to color, and I'm like, okay, so that was just they were just showing that for that. And then we go back to black and white. I'm like, all right, why are we seeing black and white again? And they keep going. They're cutting back and forth, back and forth. And at one point early on, we get introduced to a new character named Heath, who's played by Corey Hawkins, who most recently was in Straight Outta Compton, who arrives at Alexandria after supposedly having been on like a several-week supply run with two other people. And Eugene lets them in, and it's really, like, it was really jarring for me because Eugene's like, oh, we just got here. Yeah, there's like 13 of us. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant 12. And it took me a while to realize that he was referencing himself and Rick's group, like Rick's group. And I was like, oh, wait, this is a flashback. That's right. It took me a while to realize that was what they were going for. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just me being dumb. I'm not dumb, but you know what I mean. Like, maybe it just took me a while to get used to it. And I was like, all right, I just hope they're not going to do this for the entire episode. They did it for the entire episode. And there are moments in the episode where they're on the past. They're in black and white. They cut right to the present. And there's maybe a shot of somebody walking. Okay, and then they cut right back to black and white. And I'm just like, did we even need that shot, really? Could we have just cut to the next scene in black and white in the past storyline? I don't know. These are things that they could have done differently. And I'm not knocking the structure of the episode for telling it in a nonlinear way. I just feel if they're going to do it like that, they need to do it and structure it better, in my opinion. And I don't feel that was the way to go about handling the events of everything, because I really would have appreciated it seeing everything told out in that linear storyline, in that linear structure. I wanted to see, I guess maybe I shouldn't have gone into this episode expecting that, because anything can happen, but yeah, that's the standard, and I'm not saying it's cool to go out of the box and do something different. But I really think that having the story told the standard way, the standard linear way, like if they edited or structured it together of Rick killing Pete and then cut right to Rick and Morgan talking or re-meeting with each other after having not seen each other since Clear. And then we show the rest of the group within Alexandria. Deanna, over her husband's dead body, the pool of blood and everything. And then Rick and Morgan the next day decide to go out and bury Pete's body somewhere. And then Pete's son follows them, and so on. Then they find the canyon, then they formulate the plan, and then they carry out the plan. I honestly would have rather had it structured like that, because in all honesty, we really, in the beginning, when we really want that heavy-hitting conversation between Rick and Morgan. These two have not seen each other since Clear. Okay, Rick never thought he was going to see him again, and I get it. We conveyed it in the finale that Rick was beyond shocked with just that one shot of him looking at him and his facial expression of seeing Morgan. Yeah, that's shock. That showed shock perfectly. But they have one little conversation, and then they cut away, and then we go back to them later, and then they just really don't... They bring up Rick killing Pete just once. And then I really, I don't know, I thought they would honestly focus on Rick and Morgan a lot more in this episode. And I'm not saying it's bad that they didn't, but I really, especially with the way that the season has been marketed to us so far, it looks like Rick and Morgan are going to clash over some things. And that is shown tonight at one point when the Alexandria group and Rick and his group, they're building up these these fences. I forget what they called them in the show. I think it started with an S. I don't remember specifically. And then a herd of walkers come by, and the Alexandrians are very unfamiliar with how to handle walkers, obviously. So Rick is like, let them do it, okay? And then they're all pussies, okay, essentially. They can't do it. They don't have the guts. And then Morgan steps in, and Rick's like, no, Morgan, don't do it. But it's too late. Like, Morgan takes him out with his bow staff, which is so freaking epic. He knows how to use a damn bow staff. Holy shit. And then the rest of the group just pick him off, and then Rick and Morgan exchange like this glaring look at each other, and I just love that. So you could tell that they're going to disagree on some things as the season progresses, and I love how they're hinting at that. I just honestly wanted more between the two of them. They are the best characters in the show right now, in my opinion, especially Rick. Morgan, I want to say he is my second favorite character on the show right now. And I know we've only seen him in 2 episodes in the whole series. And in last season, we saw him in a couple post-credit scenes and the finale. But that's still enough for me to say that Morgan is one of my favorite and most intriguing characters. Clear is one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. I'm a big Morgan fan. Okay, and to have him and Rick, to have them really breeze over Rick and Morgan re-meeting with each other, or re-congregating with each other after all this time, was something that actually really upset me, and I really wish they hadn't done. And I think had they told this story linearly, in a straightforward, sequential order, I think that it would have benefited a lot more. It would have made me feel a lot more for those two characters who have known each other and have this really deep and important connection. You know what I'm saying? So that's, I guess, where most of my complaints lie within the show, guys. I think that it did some things well. Don't get me wrong. I think Greg Nicotero, I think, always does a good job directing. I think they handled all of the walkers in the canyon, the chasm, or whatever the hell you want to call that thing, very well. I like the staging of that and everything. I like how that they're all just in this one spot, and Rick wants to get them to move in order to safely secure Alexandria and make sure they won't keep coming through and coming over to Alexandria. Because it's actually pretty fascinating the way everything's set up. They have trucks that are blocking these walkers from coming out of the canyon. And if one of the trucks gives way, these walkers are just going to swarm through. And there you go. They're going to arrive at Alexandria. So I like that. I like the setup and everything. But then it's really just cutting back and forth. Nothing huge really happening. And they're just setting up a plan to keep moving these walkers. And they're just moving them. And the whole group is really just standing by to the side, watching these walkers walk by in a straight line on this highway. And that's it. That's for a majority of the episode. I think there are some great moments, though. I like the whole Carter wanting to overthrow Rick. I thought that was cool, and Eugene eavesdropped on that, and then Rick held him at gunpoint, but then they didn't go anywhere with that because they have Ethan gets killed tonight. He gets bitten. So I think that they could have honestly dragged that storyline out a bit more. I don't think we needed to kill Carter off tonight. We just met him, literally. And in order to establish him as sort of a mini antagonist for Rick, that would have been pretty awesome to keep him for another 2 more episodes and maybe have him still planning to overthrow Rick. Form a coup or something, you know? And I think there was just a lot of wasted opportunity with the structuring of tonight's episode. I really do. And that's honestly why I didn't get into it as much as I did. I'm going to not knock it for everything, though. At first, especially in the finale, one of my biggest problems with the finale of Season 5 was them deciding to have Glenn not kill Nicholas. Because not only do I hate that freaking character so much, but just that whole time I was like, why would Glenn's character... Yes, Glenn's character trying to keep the peace. Maybe he sees a way in Nicholas. Nicholas almost screwed Glenn over. Nicholas did screw Glenn over 2 times. He tried to kill him once, and then he basically let Noah die back in Season 5. Okay, why is this guy still alive? I honestly don't know if he's going to change. And I was thinking that all of the last half of Season 5, or the last of the finale. Tonight, I like Maggie, when Maggie has a conversation with Tara, and she's basically like, alright, this is why Glenn decided to let him live. Maybe he can change, okay? But part of me is still questioning of that. I do like it more, though. It makes a lot more sense, because when I watched the finale, no part of me understood why Glenn decided to let him live. I just didn't get it. Now I get it a little bit more. I don't agree with it, but I see where they're going. I think there's good moments. I think the whole moment where Morgan and Rick, the stare off after Morgan kills the walkers for the Alexandrians who are new to it all, I think that is great. I think the Glenn, Nicholas, and Heath moment at the store where they're shooting the walkers in the store, I thought that was a great sequence. I think there are great sequences sprinkled throughout. I like the group meeting with Rick and the whole group of Alexandria in like Deanna's house or whatever, and Rick's like, all right, who are we going to get to go on this mission with us to move these walkers out of this canyon and away from Alexandria? And Father Gabriel's like, oh, I'd love to help, Rick, and then he's just like rebuffs him. It like racks focus from Gabriel back to Rick, and he's just like, nah, not you. I love that. There were some funny moments in tonight's episode. I thought there was a great moment with Abraham and Sasha in the car where he like runs out and just runs through the walkers and grabs that like aluminum foil, because the plan is to have Daryl on his motorcycle, Sasha and Abraham in a car leading the walkers out of the chasm and sort of, I think, more west they said, or more east, I can't remember. And I thought that was just a great moment. I really love Abraham. I think he's a great character on this show. It's just such a funny guy. Mother Dick. And then the funniest moment in this entire episode, hands down. You can argue it was misplaced and it really should have been somewhere else in the episode, but it just worked for me for some reason because I didn't expect it at all. I love when Morgan, Rick, and Michonne are just at that one cutoff point of the RV and they're waiting for like the walkers to come around or whatever. And Morgan says to Michonne, did you eat one of my peanut butter protein bars? I had one. I remember specifically having one left. I could not stop laughing. I thought that was great. I love how they referenced Clear, but that was amazing because I completely forgot him and Michonne actually met once, very briefly. So I thought that was really funny. So there were some funny moments. The performances were spot on, of course, as they always are. Nicotero did a fine job directing. And I think the script was even well, but had they even wrote it when they wrote the script, the way it was actually structured in the final product, then I'm going to knock the screenwriters for that, because I disagree with having the episode structured like this. I really do. I'm not a fan of it, honestly. I don't think it was needed. I think they could have told it from the straightforward way, and that's boring. I get it. I know they wanted to do something different, but it was just very jarring. And in my opinion, it was unnecessary. I wasn't feeling it. It actually got very distracting to having them cut back and forth like that. And there are movies that do that very well, where they time jump. Like Social Network did that very well. I mentioned that with Pulp Fiction. And honestly, they didn't really... I think they could have honestly found a way, if they wanted to still do it like that, which I don't agree with. They didn't need to have it in black and white, because that just made it more jarring for me, in my opinion. They could have maybe... I think they honestly could have just did it with dialogue. Not in every single cut, but maybe they could have had just a few portions of the episode dedicated to the past, okay? And the rest of it, just the present. So that's how I would have done it. That's just my opinion. I do love the ending with the horn coming out of nowhere, but other than that, the stakes just didn't feel high for this episode, and I ultimately just didn't get hooked into the episode like I wanted to. That's why I'm going to give this episode of The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 1, I keep forgetting the name, first time again. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 or a B-. I don't think it was a bad episode. I just don't think it was a great start for the season. Granted, I think next week's episode, even though it's going to have a lot less Rick, Morgan, Glenn, and Michonne and all of them, I'm excited to see where it's going to take the group at Alexandria, because they're all going to get bombarded with walkers because of that car horn. Whoever was doing that, I think it's the Wolves. I don't know yet, though. But they're all going to be swarmed by walkers. Jesse's going to have to protect herself against walkers. So I'm really excited to see where that's going to go, because the walkers are going to invade Alexandria, and I think that's going to be real awesome. I like the whole concept of them invading the place and all these people like Carol and all them. Well, Carol is a lot more badass, but like Jesse, like they're not trained to like deal with this kind of thing. I think that's going to go down very well, and I'm really excited actually for next week's episode. I just think as a premiere, this was a little weak in my opinion, not as strong. I don't think it will be as memorable, honestly. It is nowhere near as good as Season 5's premiere, which was just on fire in my opinion. It's right around Season 4's premiere, which also wasn't that exciting. Just sort of in the middle, really. Yeah, so that's how I feel about tonight's episode. Guys, what did you think of tonight's episode of The Walking Dead? Let me know what you thought down below. Are you excited the show is back? And let me know your predictions for next week's episode. Guys, do you think it was the wolves that were blowing that car horn? What did you guys think about that? Let me know down below. And thank you as always for watching, guys. Sorry again for the lack of videos. I will see you in my next one, though. Thanks as always, guys.